Hello! Oh my goodness, and welcome to another episode of the What's Up Wenatchee podcast. You can't even see me, but that's okay. My name is Nikki Darling, and I know that we are starting today a little bit late here on the podcast, but we did have a little bit of technical difficulties today. If you could tell, we are on site. Look, I feel like I could do some shadow puppets if I even knew how to do that. But we are on site out at the Eastmont fourplex as part of the Apple Blossom Classy Chassis. Today is the Classy Chassis Parade. It's already, the festivities are setting up. They started setting up yesterday, actually, and the food area, the eatery, is all set up. I see the shave ice, which is a little cold for today, but you know, the kiddos love that stuff. You got our shack out there, the kettle corn, Dooley Dogs, Blue Skies, Mama Tina's. So lots of really great eateries out there. Look, I feel like you can actually see me better on this camera. You can. So maybe I'll put both of those cameras up from this computer. I'm going to put both of them up there so you can actually kind of see me. And then the parade starts at 6 o'clock tonight, goes down all the way down Grant Road and ends at Gateway Park. And they're going to have dancing in the street down at Gateway Park. And some of the, I think Blue Skies is going to be down there giving food and some music. There's going to be a band down there. So it's going to be lots of fun tonight. And then tomorrow right here at the fourplex during the day is the car show. They're going to have about 400 classic cars. Maybe yours is going to be here too. Right here parked, and you can come and hang out and see all the cars, walk around. There's going to be food and music, and I will be the DJ and the MC for tomorrow's car show. I am so excited that I get to be a part of Classy Chassis this year, and not just any part, like I get to MC the entire day of festivities on the mic. My stage is actually right to the left of me. You can't even see. So it's going to be a fun time. That's going to be tonight, and tomorrow is the car show. It's a busy time here for Apple Blossom. I know tomorrow's the Grand Parade, and we've got the vendors over at the Memorial Park for the food fair and vendor fair all weekend long. It's the big Apple Blossom weekend. Grayson, you are not on camera yet. Where are you?
I'm hiding.
Why are you hiding? So I want you to sit down so you can talk to me a little bit about, turn on the mic too, because I turned it off. Talk to me a little bit about what this process was like getting this broadcast up and running today. It has been, we're starting almost about 45 minutes late,
right?
Getting onto the broadcast,
right?
But not for a lack of trying.
Not for a lack of trying at all, but we're getting better all the time, and we're starting with this new hotspot. So I figured that we would have glitches and stuff. I did not anticipate this.
Right. We try to plan. We do site surveys. We come out. We test. Our equipment. We're pros at what we do, and we are getting better all the time. We don't know everything. Just like anybody at any job, you try and do something new. You try and anticipate what could go wrong. And they're like, hey, you want to come do your show outside in the middle of a field? And we go, yes. I saw a post on Facebook the other day, and it was like, because I like to follow a lot of those inspirational female entrepreneurial, like, yeah, girl, you could do this kind of Facebook pages. I know it sounds corny, but it really does. When you're having a hard day, it's nice to know there's other ladies out there and other people in general that are just maybe hitting their head against their hand in front of their computer going, oh my gosh. So there was this post that went, what is one thing that you can attribute your success up to this point to? One thing. And wow, it made me actually stop my scroll, right? Stop the scroll and go, what is one thing I would attribute my success to up to this point? And you know what? After a lot of thought, because that you only get one thing, I said to myself, if I had to pick one thing to attribute my success up to this point, it would be saying yes. Like saying yes to things, even when I feel really intimidated, like them asking me to handle the sound and the emceeing for Classy Chassis was very intimidating. But I said yes. I'm like, yes. That was like Ryan. He was like, just tell them yes and you'll figure it out. I'm like, yeah, but I'm the one that has to figure it out, not you. I have to figure it out. And
it's getting past yourself there, and taking that plunge when you're nervous and unsure, and it's uncharted territory. Because when we came that day for the audio, I mean, you had the blank stare with these with these tech guys. They're talking about speakers and mounting speakers here and there, and projecting the sound, and you were just like deer in the headlights.
Well, yeah, I know a lot. Let's
I'm not saying you don't know anything.
This,
I think it was more of when they were like, we're going to put a speaker here, and we're going to run this cable down this fence, and you were just like,
we're going to run 100 feet of cable, really, in each direction?
You're putting speakers.
How are we going to do that? Yeah, but I've learned so much. That's the thing. You say yes, and then you do find some way to figure it out. And we have. It was great.
Yeah, I think that process was really good for you because you learned a little more on what you already know, and I can already tell that you're a lot more confident. Because when I was talking to you about it, like, what's the plan? Like, you're still unsure. You're like, yeah. Well, we already talked. We got it all figured out. I know exactly where we're going to be. We tested
all the equipment. Yep. It's all good. We're all set. Yep. Just got to show up, do it. Yeah. No, but in the beginning, right, like you say yes. And even if it's scary, even if it's intimidating, even if you don't know what you're doing, you have to have enough faith and enough trust in yourself that you're going to figure it out.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. So I would say yes, saying yes. And so we said yes to doing this today, being out here and broadcasting live. And yeah. And what was your conversation with me yesterday?
My conversation was, so I know what you're
Wow, we still have we stayed live that entire time.
Yay!
Yeah.
Without curse words.
I can't. Yeah, I don't think we did have any curse words there.
Nope.
No.
Just momentary glitch here as we're trying this mobile hotspot.
Yes, but we are getting some feedback. Yes. Does that do it? Oh, I have to mute this microphone. That's what I got to do.
All right.
That'll do it. Okay. Nope, that's into it. know the history of Cinco de Mayo? Do you know the history of Cinco de Mayo?
Without Googling it.
Without Googling it.
Yeah. Don't ask Alexa. Don't ask Siri. Don't Google it.
I feel like maybe I do know the history of Cinco de Mayo, but I'm not. I don't want to say it.
Right, because you're not entirely sure.
I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like it has to do with the end of the Spanish-American War.
Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna say it.
Okay.
Because whatever, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I feel like it has to do with the end of a war. Specifically, maybe the Spanish-American War. And I don't think that they're going to be, that the culture is going to be too distraught if we eat tacos on Cinco de Mayo, especially if we go out to one of their mom and pop small business restaurants.
Right.
And
but
our
I feel
consumer.
like today is a really important day. Have you ever seen the movie The Mexican?
No.
Okay, so in the movie The Mexican, if anyone doesn't know that, go ahead and Google it if they haven't seen it. There is a scene where it's Brad Pitt and his character in Mexico, literally in Mexico, and it's Cinco de Mayo. So I feel like it's like their Independence Day, but I don't want to like say for sure that that's
and they were
exactly
celebrating in
like
Mexico.
Yeah, so it's like their 4th of July, right? But I'm not entirely sure if I'm right. But I remember that very specifically, that they put that in the movie. But again, I don't know a lot of history in Mexico, and I don't want to misspeak, and I don't want to offend anyone at all. So yes, I'm very, very excited that we're going to have a guest speaker come and talk to us about that.
Yeah. So around 1:40, we're going to talk with Ruben Benacort. There's an event down at Pybus called La Terraza de la Main Street, something. Yeah. That is La Terraza, and there's more to the name.
This is important.
Oh, dude, there's no La. It's La Terraza de Main Street, and it's a pretty cool event. They're with another episode of the What's Up Wenatchee podcast. On our past episodes, we've dealt with a lot of different issues that are dealing with our community as far as local government and legislation, and even to get a chance to talk with the current sitting mayor about a lot of those issues. We do know that he is not seeking re-election in the next go around. So that is bringing up a lot of question marks for the leadership in Wenatchee. And we know a couple of different people who are thinking about maybe running for mayor, or that have said they're not interested. So we made a conscious decision that we're going to be keeping a close eye on this. And I have gotten an exclusive with one of the candidates who the declaration comes up next week. So we are pre-declaration for making the decision to run for mayor. And this guy is going to sit down with us for just a little while today and tell us why he is excited for running for mayor, why he's made this decision, and just introduce to the What's Up Wenatchee audience to the future mayor of Wenatchee, Mike Poirier. Welcome to the program, Mike.
Thanks, Nikki, for having me. Seriously, this is great. It's an opportunity to show people what I've been doing and what I want to do for the future.
So, I mean, like, let's start right there. Like, what have you been doing most recently? I think I know because, like, I know you and I follow what you have been doing and I know your family, and we can kind of talk about that in just a little bit. But for people who aren't familiar with you and your work in the advocacy of this community, what have you been doing most recently?
Yeah, most recently I've been on the Schland Douglas Transportation Council, and that helps with the Confluent Parkway. And the current mayor, Kuntz, he spearheaded that and he did a great job. And I really want to be out there to be mayor to continue his efforts and continue for the strength of this city. So it's kind of exciting. It's been like over a year process, depending on what I wanted to do. And I've got so much support. I said, this is going to be my future.
Right. And that big, I mean, the transportation budget and sitting on that and being involved in that has to have been such a huge project, the Confluence Parkway. Now it's let's talk about that just for a minute. Like, I don't want to get too much into the weeds on that because I want to know about you, but since you're involved in that and it is such a huge project that's going to be affecting everybody in this community for the next, I mean, just the construction of it alone for the next 5 or 6 years, but for the betterment, hopefully, of our increase in population and people on the roads and people commuting, are those the support of those types of projects and expansion in Wenatchee something that you are in support of?
Boy, you brought up a lot of issues.
Sorry, yeah,
no,
I went right for it.
which is great. So the Confluence Parkway, with the commissioners, with the PUD that okayed this, and we finally legislation just passed a week ago about where this money's going to actually come through. Even though they give it to you, they have to figure out ways how it's going to come to you. But I also believe we are in a wonderful position for Wenatchee Valley that we have a responsibility, and we've been doing a good job, but we have a responsibility to keep like land trust and keep going with the land here, because if we're going to take away, and just like the commissioners at the PUD says, we got a responsibility. Everybody has responsibility. If you're going to take something, then put it back. The nice thing is about this, we have the land that we are transitioning over. But I also believe the future for me is to look for more land for land trust, or more land for us as people enjoy our valley. But I've always believed the Confluence Parkway for the next 20 years from now, if this wasn't happening, there'd be a lot of frustration, as you can imagine, with traffic. But I want both. I want to relieve the traffic, and I want to now start looking for even more land for our future. So, and it's interesting because you brought up households, whatever. I'm also on a different board.
Okay.
There's 1,000 households projected in Wenatchee by 2050. So these are all future based on statistics of what's going to happen and what we need to do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Wenatchee is getting any smaller as far as population. It is a place that people want to keep moving to or retiring to. It's a nice place to live and raise family. And speaking of family, like, you are a family man, you're a business owner. And so let's introduce people to who you are, and as not just the future mayor and what you believe in, as far as local government and the expansion and growth of our city, but who you are historically and and what legacy you're leaving here as a person, right? You have not only been working in any kind of philanthropy and advocacy work within the community for almost 40 years, but you have built a business here and raised a family here. That is a big deal for people who are people like me who aren't from here can really look up to somebody like you and say, this is a place that I could do the same thing.
Sometimes I take things for granted. What you just said puts a smile on my face. Starting from 8 years old picking cherries, and everybody has picked cherries. Can all think of their fingers getting rubbed with calluses. I mean, I still close my eyes and I look at cherries. And so I had the opportunity to work here. And I always say I worked here, played sports here. I go to college, Eastern Washington University. And fortunately enough, I met my wife, Maureen, who decided that we both wanted to come back in this community. So we came back in 1989 and with no job, actually. But we knew we wanted to live in the community.
Stop it.
Yeah, no, I'm not kidding you. I had no job, and my wife and I had a tough situation, and I hope my wife's okay with this. We lost a child, and so we made that decision to come back here because we knew this is where our family was going to be. So then it's a responsibility, of course, to create a business, and now it's the business I'm in. It's been 45 years, and it's kind of nice because we've gone to like 6 employees. And so it's nice to always give back to the community. Whatever it's worth, the community, I've been involved in the community for quite a few years before even city government. It's just a passion. I believe you have that responsibilities. In Wenatchee High School, I was in charge of Meals on Wheels. And so I think it's there. I think most times most people are good people and they have what it takes. They just need to be asked sometimes.
Yeah, I've talked about this sense of responsibility to the community with other community leaders like Darcy Christopherson from Apple Blossom and Alex Haley from the PAC. Like we've talked about this and where it might come from, and how Wenatchee is such a great community for instilling that in its children. And there's so many programs like Apple Blossom for young girls that it's just, as you grow up, you get involved. We do kind of take it for granted because not every community has something like Apple Blossom or has programs to get kids involved in volunteering and philanthropy and giving back to the community. But this community does. Like it built upon it.
I think the best question you ask is, can you help me? And I believe this is a great opportunity for me. I believe we need more people to engage in our community as far as the government part. But I believe if it isn't government, at least engage in something. And tons of people are doing that. And we have to continue that for our future for Wenatchee. And I it's just the right thing to do it. And I know everybody's listening right now, watching this. They know it's the right thing. And if you want to get involved, you do not have to go very far.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't to find where, if you have, call me, call the city,
right.
call
me.
Call Nikki and say, hey, this is what I like to do. Where do I start? And I'm telling you, there's thousands of things. And you don't have to commit for 50 hours a week. Maybe it's 1 hour a month.
Yeah.
And
I guarantee you the people that you're helping will be so grateful that you did. Can we talk about your wife for a second? Because she is totally the better half of you guys. I'm a little biased.
Of course.
Yeah.
I've been married 37 years coming up, and a lot of people are going to know this last name. It's Sachs, S-A-X. And I married a local gal, and we both graduated from Eastern. She taught school for 30 years. And one of our many proud things of our children, but 2 of my daughters teach special ed in Wenatchee.
Yeah.
And it's the idea, it's the idea of giving back. So I think my wife and I have both taught our children to give back. But yeah.
And like I said, I am a little biased because your wife admittedly is one of my best friends in the world. But I did tell her that if I thought you were a complete jerk, I would tell everybody and let them know. And that's not the case. I think you're a wonderful, smart man. So I will tell everybody that because I tell the truth and I'm real all the time. So she thinks the world of you. And I just love you guys and your entire family. You're right. You have 2 daughters who are special ed teachers, but you have 3 daughters altogether And I've gotten a chance to get to know all three of them, and your grandchildren are just, oh, they're so adorable. And my kiddo gets to play with your grandkids sometimes, which is a trip. There was one time, I'll tell you, we had set a play date where your grandkids and my kiddo were going to play, and we had to cancel for some reason. Trenton wasn't feeling well, and your granddaughter almost had a complete and utter breakdown. And you know how she is. She's just kind of flippant. Like,
Yeah.
she doesn't really get it, this kid, but your wife called me and said that she had this complete breakdown because Trenton wasn't coming over. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
E- every and I know you're talking about my granddaughter, but every child's special, right? And you look at those proud moments. So Easter a few weeks ago, we were over at Easter egg hunt, and as kids can get rambunctious, it's not their fault, excited.
Yeah.
There's a little girl that didn't get 3 Easter eggs because everybody's supposed to get 3 Easter eggs. And so my grandson went over and gave him one, nobody prompted him. He just went over and gave one of his Easter eggs over. And that's a proud moment to watch
Mhm.
because nobody told him to do that, but somehow it's instilled in him to do the right thing. And what's the difference if you're 5 years old or if you're
50 years old, yeah.
59 years old? And it's still doing the right thing. So yeah, and all children are great, and your grandchildren, everybody's grandchildren, not yours, but everybody's grandchildren are the best, right? But you do love and you do have influence over your children and grandchildren, and they admire you if you do when you do the right thing.
Yeah, that's
So
true. And you know what, Mike? Sometimes doing the right thing, no matter if you're 5 or 59, doing the right thing is not always the easy thing, right? Like your grandson handing over his Easter egg, probably really difficult, right?
yeah.
Doing the right thing. So even at 59, making the decision to run for mayor, bringing it back around to that, even though it is the right thing, and you know in your heart it's the right thing for the future of this town as far as leadership goes, and you're in that position to be a great leader, it's probably not the easiest decision. Am I right?
Yes, I've been thinking about it for a couple years. Mayor Kuntz put me on a couple or I volunteered on a couple of the committees that were on that. They're all the other mayors and commissioners around. So obviously it's been known, or at least for me to get educated enough to understand this. So it's great to have all the support. I mean, this is before I even file. I must have 1,000 people that came up to me and said, "Hey, we want you for mayor wing." There is some changes or some things that I want to make, but again, the existing Mayor Kuntz has done a wonderful job. He's saved our city with the town Toyota Center as far as budgets. And I'm on the finance committee, and I've been on that twice now. And
I'm losing track of
yes,
how many committees you're on.
well,
I'm trying to keep track.
I I think it's important to be educated,
Yeah.
and nobody should run for mayor unless they're willing to sacrifice or do the right thing, however you want to call it. You have a responsibility. I mean, you can't run for mayor just saying, okay, I want to run for mayor. You need to be able to be educated, to be a leader, and show the other city council people this is the direction we're going, and learn from them and learn from all this experience. The main reason I'm doing it is because I believe I am the best person to do this.
Yeah.
If I didn't believe that, I would not run. If there's somebody that I believe is better, I want to support them.
Yeah.
No doubt, no doubt not. Because I want what's best for Wenatchee. I really do. That's deep down. That's my goal. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to, my business runs, I can have it run by itself. I have another owner. And so my commitment's going to be that I'm going to let my business now run
Uh-huh.
with a new owner, a part owner on it, and then dedicate it even more so to the city when I'm mayor.
So it sounds like you have a pretty good relationship with Mayor Kuntz.
Mayor Kuntz graduated, unfortunately, from the University of Washington. Just kidding. But I've known Mayor Kuntz since he was in high school, and he, you know what, same thing, good family, good person. And I think it just needs to continue. Yes, I have a great relationship with Mayor Kuntz. We argue about things, and we should argue about things because we both want what's best for Wenatchee, and that's important.
Yeah. Constructive debate is a part
Constructive
of
debate. That's a lot better than me saying fighting.
Yeah, I am working on my diplomacy, so
Maybe I need to
you
a little bit better.
yeah. I'll help you.
Perfect.
Oh my goodness. Well, it seems like he is working, with you on these committees and things like that, so that it should help the transition into new leadership. When you become the future mayor of Wenatchee, or you are now the future mayor of Wenatchee when you actually become the mayor of Wenatchee, and it is good to see that you have already some support before you're even declaring. That must feel good on your part.
It's great. I truly have a list of 1,000 names, and I receive phone calls from people saying, "Will you run?" And I've been receiving those. I actually received 4 years ago. They wanted me to run for mayor, and I said no. Mayor Kuntz deserves one more term, and so it's been out there, and I'm still getting calls every day, truthfully, to say we want to support you. And to be honest with you, I'm looking for people that want to endorse me. And I do have a site, Wenatchee Valley.
Yep, I just put it up on the
Oh, you did?
screen. Wenatchee Valley. It was perfect timing. You did it great. I was like right on cue.
That way you can see a little bit more of what I've done, what my commitments are, what commitments should be for the future. But yeah, I'd love for people to sit there, even if you sit there and say, "Hey, I don't like what's going on." You know what? That's what I want.
Yeah.
Because if I can get people that want to help me, that's important. Important is, you call the debate constructive.
Debate. Yeah.
Debate. It helps us all to realize, as long as we keep our open minds, it's like, oh wait, I forgot about, gee, we need to get some more land over here because we took away some land over here. We need those conversations.
Right. I think sometimes the general community or people in their local government who are in leadership are human beings as well. Right. And we're all fallible, and we're all trying to do the best we can with what we're handed in any given situation. And even when you are in the leadership position of mayor, a lot of people are going to agree with decisions that you make. And there's people who are going to disagree with every decision that you make. Doesn't matter. And those are going to be the same people in different situations. So you have to walk this diplomatic, here's that word again, fine line, and not, even including me. And I know you, right? I'm not going to agree with every decision that you make, or I'm going to agree with some of them. So I have to trust that you are there making the best decision for the community as a whole. But we talk a bit about transparency.
Yes, transparency and
communication.
And what you're talking about, it to me, is outreach. And I one of my future thoughts is having some more outreach programs. And because not everybody can make it at certain times to the city council, but that doesn't mean your representative shouldn't be able to talk to you and bring those subjects up to the city council. So I brought this up actually at a work session a month or two ago, and that's something I want to encourage, more outreach, so people can interact.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to take advantage. I hope people are going to take advantage of that. Just being out here and knowing that's one of the issues. People feel like they're just talking to a brick wall half the time when trying to interact with local government officials. So knowing that that's one of the things that it's important to you to have two-way communication, I think people will find that important.
Communications, even if we don't agree, if we communicate, and we're willing to keep an open mind, we're going to be okay. It's okay not to. Yeah, people have closed minds, and so yeah, I really truly believe in transparency. I want people to sit there and say, "You told me this so many times that I get it," and I don't know. The government is just it's just people, right? So
Well, people get a little iffy and punch drunk when we talk about politics nowadays,
yeah,
and just the word politics, it brings up the just memories or visuals of extreme right or extreme left or Democrat or Republican, and it's very divisive, right? Politics in general. So I don't find you divisive. Like, I don't find you as somebody who I find you just the opposite. So,
political party.
poli-
Sorry to interrupt, but political
yeah,
party. Oh, political parties have great things.
yeah.
So why not take the best for Wenatchee
Mhm.
and use that? So
So
yeah,
you are deciding not to run with either political party.
I want what's best for Wenatchee. So to me, what's best for Wenatchee is to take things from both parties. So, and that's my goal. Yeah, if I thought of being a Democrat or Republican meant it's better for the city, then that would be fine. But I truly believe let's use everything we have here to do what's best for all of us.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I get a question. A lot of people ask me those questions.
It'll be interesting as we move through the rest of the campaign to maybe speak with you a bit more about what things from the Democratic side, what things from the Republican side you align with and that you think are going to be applicable. But I think that's neither here nor there. We've kind of talked a bit more about being, fiscally conservative and socially liberal, and I can relate to that. There's a bit more of where I align. I mean, your thoughts on that,
Fiscal responsibility, that's the key.
right?
I mean, and that's what's nice. Been on the city council finance committee, and I've been asked to be on it again. But yeah, you have to be fiscal responsibility. But the same thing, like homeless is an issue that's not going away.
Yeah.
But we can't enable people either. So we have to figure out what's best. Every community, this is a situation we're going through the whole country, and every community take care of their responsibility. The question is, don't take more than your responsibility. So how do you do that and stay within the laws? And the safe parks have been working out great. There's other cities that are actually looking at us of how we demonstrated do not enable, and we're really that's one of my big things is. And so if somebody's at safe parks and they have 20 bicycles on top of their motorhome, they have to improve. So improvement for some people is not the same improvement for other people. So we want to make sure they know there's services here that can help, and we are educating people with
Hmm.
those services. And maybe that person with the 20 bicycles on their motorhome, they have to get rid of one. That's an improvement. So we need to look at the positives. It might not be an improvement in some people's eyes, but if we can take people and keep going with this, it's good. And again, I want to be an open city that says everybody come here. That's enabling. I'm not doing that.
Hmm.
We got to be fiscal responsible and do the right thing. It's hard.
Well, again,
It's hard.
you have to remember that they're human beings too. Just like you or the mayor or anybody else, like we tend to either put people up on pedestals and forget that they're human beings, or we put people down in the dirt and forget that they're human beings having a human experience. So let's try and just be nicer to everybody.
It's somebody's mom, it's somebody's dad, it's somebody's child,
Mhm.
it's somebody's brothers, it's somebody's sister. We have to have compassion, but same token, you do have to be fiscally responsible. It is hard. This isn't it is easy, and most of us know people that have issues, mental issues or drug issues, or alcohol issues. And it's there's no special sauce, it's just,
Wouldn't that be
it's
nice?
not. Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. People think there is, but there is. It's hard work. It's hard work. It's hard work for everybody. I mean, everybody's out there doing the best that they can.
But again, people are good people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this camera saying, "You're good," because it's true. Because I do believe humans are good people
Innately, yeah. What does I know you're really close with your family. I love, like, you live next door to your daughter and grandchildren. And your other daughter lives with you.
My oldest daughter bought our house that our children raised in, and it was too big of it's like 3,000 square feet. It was too big, and they started a family, so it was the right thing for them to buy our house, and then we built the house
right next door,
a small house next door to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's
Are you kicking yourself in the butt because of that one, or you love it?
We overall, it's a great thing. And then my other daughter, Emily, is about a mile away, and her husband, and they have a young daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, it's.
Are they excited that you're running?
I think they know I think they believe I'll do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So they care about the city too.
Yeah.
And so, and I think my daughters, all three daughters, would vote whoever they thought would do the best job, even if it wasn't me. And I got to tell you,
100% believe that.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That's a neat thing. If you think about it, if you raise your children and say, do the right thing, and they sit there and say, and they'll tell me, they'll right out tell me, I'll
vote against you.
I'll do the right thing. So
that holds you to a high standard, right? Like, they're going to keep your feet to the fire, make sure your integrity is intact, because, hey, Dad, if you don't do the right thing, I'm going to vote for the other guy or gal or whatever, right? Yeah.
I like that. To me, that means my wife and I raised them. We did okay.
Yeah. You guys did a great job. Well, Mike, this has been an honor to have you here and talk about this a little bit. But well, if we can, we'll get you back on. I know it's going to be a busy season for you going forward through the campaign. We've got the primaries in August, and then we're going to breeze through the primary, and then we'll see you in November for the election. So we'll want everybody to get out there, get registered to vote, and check out what Mike is all about at WenatcheeValley.com. You can see all of the different boards that you've been sitting on over the years, check out your history, and also send in an endorsement, which would be awesome. So any kind of personal or professional or political experience that maybe you've had with Mike in the past, you can write that in, and it'll be highlighted on the website, WenatcheeValley.com. And we'll see you out there on the campaign trail.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah.
I like this.
Oh, good. I'm glad you had fun, because the rest of the campaign is going to be crap. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
There you go. That was upcoming future mayor of Wenatchee, Mike Poirier. And that was our talk with him. And I really want to thank him so much for coming on the program with us. And we will get that interview up onto the What's Up Wenatchee YouTube page. So if you missed any part of it, you can go back and rewatch it and be able to share it with the other people that are in your life, so they can get an idea of just, Mike is just one of the candidates. The declaration for the Wenatchee mayoralship starts May 15th, May 17th, somewhere around there. So we are like 10 days away from that happening, the official filing for that. And then we'll get to see, other than Mike Poirier, who is going to be on the ticket, whether we're going to see maybe Brian Campbell running again, or who else might be running. I haven't really heard too many other rumblings other than Brian Campbell, but hopefully we'll get a chance to talk with any other candidates that are interested in running and seeing what their lives are like, what they're like as human beings, because they are humans, just like Mike and I talked about in that conversation. We thank you guys for sticking with us today. We are broadcasting out in the wind live from Eastmont Fourplex, which is the site for tonight's Classy Chassis Parade. We'll start from here, go down Grant Road, and up at Gateway Park with dancing in the street and some food. The eatery is open over here with a lot of great local food trucks and people selling the food over here. And then tomorrow is the car show. All day, 400 classic cars going to be right here in the Fourplex with food and a car smash for the Eastmont Rotary. And I will be here all day playing music, DJing, emceeing, giving away prizes, giving away all the awards to the best car in show. And I look forward to seeing you out here as well in between all of your grand parades and the food fair and the vendor fair. Chris says you're going to be out here in about an hour. Oh, maybe we'll see you, Chris. That's awesome. Thank you for always tuning in and being such a great supporter of the What's Up Wenatchee podcast, Chris. We really appreciate you, honestly. And everybody who tunes in all the time. We've had 10 new subscribers in just the past week. Grace, I'm looking at Grayson over here. So I want to thank all of the new people who have subscribed. And normally we don't have this many technical, what are we talking about? We always have some kind of glitch or issue. So get used to that. But we're getting better all the time. We're upgrading technology. We're upgrading our camera systems, our Wi-Fi, so we can be on site all the time. We're in a new place every single week. We are a completely community supported podcast, which means that we're supported by local businesses, organizations, and people like you. So just go to www.supercast.com. I can get that up on the screen so you can see it. And you can join our community and be one of our community supporters. One of our local businesses that partially supports us is Susie Health Solutions and Wenatchee Insurance. We know that insurance shopping sucks. If you go online, you can expect your phone to blow up and your email box to be filled with just so many emails until the sun burns out. Products are really confusing. I mean, seriously, what does catastrophic and full coverage even mean? I don't even know. Actually, I kind of do know a little bit more now because 11 years ago, my friends Matt and Susie, they saw the change in health insurance coming and they started helping people free of charge with Apple Health and the plans on Washington Health Plan Finder. They saw gaps like dental, vision, and Medicare, so they contracted with companies and started offering them too. I asked them a million questions about things like catastrophic and full coverage insurance, and they answered my questions, and they didn't make me feel stupid. They are so great. They're so comfortable. They're so down to earth. I didn't give up until I knew what was going on. Back in January, they started doing homes, autos, businesses with their partner, Shayla. They're now contracted with a bunch of insurance companies to create bundles and fill in those gaps for you now. So now you can go to one place for health and home insurance. Susie Health Solutions and Wenatchee Insurance are both located at 413 North Mission Street, or you can go to enrollmentcenter.org. So not only do we have a lot of stuff going on for Apple Blossom this weekend, today is also Cinco de Mayo. And Grayson and I, if you heard us earlier, we were debating whether or not we are creating a cultural appropriation faux pas by saying that we're going to eat tacos for Cinco de Mayo. So for that and for other reasons, we have decided that we're going to get somebody, a professional on the program with us today. By professional, I just mean somebody within the Hispanic community that knows more than us, right? Because neither of us are within the Hispanic community. So why not bring in Ruben Benacort? He is the chair over at the Hispanic Business Council. Is it the council over at the Chamber of Commerce? So welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for braving this wind and this weather. I'm so sorry. I don't have control over that. So
that's okay.
I feel like on a Cinco de Mayo, we should have lots of sunshine.
Yeah, more beaches,
Right.
And, yeah, margaritas.
That would be in the style
Yes.
of like the Mexican culture, right?
Yeah.
Like Cinco de Mayo is a Mexican holiday, right? Am I at least right there?
Absolutely, you are right there.
Okay. So there is an event happening down at Pybus to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, and that's happening tomorrow. And I want to talk about that a little bit, but more importantly, how horrible is it to eat tacos on Cinco de Mayo?
It's never horrible to eat tacos.
It's never horrible to eat tacos. Yes.
Ever. So yeah, get that out of your head.
Okay.
No, and I thank you for having me. And so I don't think there's any cultural appropriation being done. Cinco de Mayo has been celebrated in California since 1863, a year after it happened. And so I think it's almost an American tradition as much as it is a Mexican at this point. So
does it have to do with the Mexican-American War?
It does not.
Oh, I was wrong. Okay.
Yeah, so it actually has to do with if you're familiar with American history, there's a Battle of Saratoga where the Americans fought back a superior force of the British Empire and the colonialism at that point. So the Mexicans were doing the same with the French at the time. Mexico actually had their independence in 1821, so almost 40 years ahead of this. So they were really just fighting back a colonial force of French colonialism that was still trying to be in Mexico. They were 3-1 outnumbered, and they won. It was a huge morale boost for the overall independence of Mexico, as what we see today as all of Mexico being under Mexican rule. And really what it did, it kicked off foreign support for their help. So they started getting, the U.S. actually started helping them after that point. And that's why it was celebrated in California after that, because there was a lot of Mexican Americans in California, Texas that really, believed in what was being done. So it really is just, it was a wonderful battle that they won. And now, we celebrate it for what it is. It's just a awareness of our culture and our history.
I like that much better than what I had originally thought, that they were, it was them fighting the Americans, because then we can't really like celebrate it, right? Because it would be like the American Revolution, and it was like, we're the bad guys. No, we are not the bad guys.
No.
The French were the bad guys.
Yes.
Yeah, and we were the good guys because we eventually became their ally after that, and then we helped them celebrate their independence. That's a much better story.
Yes, so I think now it's really about culture. So it's about the danzas, the musical, the mariachi, and so it's, like I said, as much American history now as it has been, because we've really, there's a lot of Hispanic heritage from Mexico here in the United States.
Yeah.
But really, we're actually hosting an event on the 20th. So the Hispanic Business Council is I know Pybus is doing one tomorrow. We're holding one on the 20th downtown Wenatchee Ave. And really what we're doing, it's a multicultural event for a downtown market, 1st to 2nd Street, Wenatchee Ave on the 20th.
Oh, what is that about?
So we're just bringing in a lot of vendors, giving a free space for them, new vendors. Or there's going to be a tequila garden. We're going to have live music and dancers, local performers. And so it's through, the sense of Cinco de Mayo and the inclusivity of multicultural events that we're hosting this on the 20th.
Does that event have a name?
La Terraza de Main Street.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And
that's on the 20th. And I see tacos and music and activities for the whole family. And now I have not heard about this tequila garden. Is that like a new thing?
So it will be your typical beer garden, I think, but there will be tequila there.
Lots more tequila. I don't drink, but I could see that would be a really exciting thing for people.
Some people. It's a very exciting thing. It's the reason they go. I think the reason we hold the event is to hold a downtown space for small local businesses that are underrepresented, whether that's by color, by creed, by whatever that is, down in the main local area, so that they can come and have a space that's theirs for the day. We'll be there 12 to 7, and we currently have about 32 signed up. We have a space for about 10 more. So if there's a local business that wants to be there, we're open 12 to 7, and the space is free.
And why do you think, Ruben, that they are so underrepresented in our community in particular?
I think there's a lot of different reasons. I think the biggest question typically comes up is, is it the language barrier? Yes, that's a huge part of it. Is it the inclusivity part of being invited? When you think of going to an event and you think of your circle of 5 friends that you would invite to that event, how many of them are of a different race or different color, different, are they a person of color? Are they a different person of color than what you are? And so I think looking at that, a lot of the events and a lot of the work that the Hispanic Business Council is doing is to bring underrepresented business to the forefront and say, look, these are businesses, these are local, they're family oriented, they're multicultural, they're multi-generational sometimes, and we want to make sure that they're recognized as part of the Wenatchee Valley and the greater area that we're serving, which is a multicultural region.
Have you been working with Rosa, the Downtown Association, with this event in particular?
Yeah, so actually, Rosa is a main contributor to the beginning of this event and has been for a long time. So
I am not surprised at that at all.
Yeah, it's great to have you mention her. So yes, we're doing the downtown space where we have one block that we've closed on the 20th. We're going to put a stage up, so it's going to be a very big event. So please come down. It's completely free to come in. We have a few things that are going to be free. We'll have a picture booth that's free, a couple other things. So just come down and enjoy it. Rosa has been like I said, instrumental in making sure that this happens. And now that as the Wenatchee Valley Downtown Association director, I think it's something that just takes it to another level.
Well, yeah, sure. Because if we go back a few episodes to when I think she came on when we were at Yogi Grind. Yeah, and she had just been appointed her executive director position for the Downtown Association. And one of the things that I talked to her about was what were one of the big initiatives that she was wanting to focus on now that she was put in that position. And I know that she is part of the Hispanic community, and I know that that is one of the things that is close to her heart. And that I was not surprised when she said that she really wanted to include more of the South Wenatchee businesses that tend to be more Hispanic owned and underrepresented, and get them more included in the rest of the downtown community and the feel of that they are part of that as well. And so this was like, this had Rosa's name all over it. So how do you feel like it's going to just be the Hispanic community that gravitates towards something like this, or is this really meant to be something that is transitional and transformational into more of like not just Hispanics but Hispanic Americans, and that could be opening and welcoming to them so that they can learn about the culture and also engage with that culture as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, how many of us have ever had a Sprite or a Coke or, had one of those drinks? I think we can all get behind some of those things that we really appreciate about, growing up and having a multicultural, generational group of people behind this event, is that we are inviting everyone, right? And so we're inviting different groups that we're talking to. We have tacos, everybody loves tacos. We're going to have so many different, I think things that bring us as a community together, right? Ice cream. So if you love ice cream, we're going to have ice cream there.
Duh.
So I think one of the biggest things that we like to make sure to talk about as we talk about equity is that, before you can get to being equitable, you have to be inclusive. And so please invite your neighbor, invite the people that to come to these events. And like I said, we're part of this is we're with the Chamber of Commerce, and we really support a lot of the businesses that are coming to the chamber for help and want to get the awareness out into the community. And so we're really just blessed to have such great partners already, that this event has been multicultural since we started it 3 years ago.
Yeah, the Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce Hispanic Business Council is a fairly new entity, isn't it? Just the past couple of years.
So actually the North Central Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce merged a little bit with the Chamber of Commerce, and so the essence behind it has been here for over 20 to 30 years. There's a lot of really great people who have set that up for years. The Chamber of Commerce actually, as an advisory council, brought the Hispanic Business Council on as the other group dissolved, and kind of merged forces. Yeah.
And so what primarily are you focusing on the Hispanic Business Council?
So inclusivity and equity are two of the biggest conversations that we typically have. Really, all the events that the chamber have are wonderful events, and really just bringing the right people to the table when they're happening. And so outreach, a lot of awareness of what's already happening that the chamber is doing, which is great work, but just bringing Hispanic and people of color to those events.
So does everybody need to learn Spanish? Is that
no? So
to be more inclusive?
No,
I'm just wondering like what
not.
We could do to be more inclusive.
I think to be more inclusive, I think just introduce yourself to people. I think everybody has that fear that they're not going to be welcomed, or someone's not going to be excited to talk to them. One of the things that we do find as the biggest gap is the language gap. But there are a lot of us, and myself included, that like to help others bridge that gap. And so whether it's, having a slightly different kind of conversation than we're used to, where it's one-on-one, it's sometimes having a third or fourth person in a conversation and making a group conversation. And it's just a different way of having a conversation. It's more kind of like a family style where everyone's kind of involved as much as they want to be in that conversation.
Interesting. Yeah. Like just our good-hearted moderators. We need like a good-hearted moderator in every room for sure. Well, it works both ways too, because I know as somebody who doesn't speak Spanish very well or at all, I would be hesitant to walk into a small business or a business that I know has a Spanish speaking business owner or workers, employees or culture, right? That I would open up the door and maybe they would all look at me and be like, why is she here? What does she want? And not knowing if I am acting the right way or saying the right things or asking for things in the right way. I don't want to embarrass myself either, and people might not want to make themselves vulnerable. So I might need somebody to bring me in there and be like, you need to ask for it like this, or, just kind of show me the way.
Yeah.
There's a barrier for me, for us going into Hispanic businesses also.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a wall that, faces both ways. And so, again, I think the biggest part of starting that conversation and having that is taking the first step. Someone asked me recently, how can they learn Spanish a little bit better? And we had a good conversation of, well, what works for you to learn? For some people, it's just having that conversation, going straight into the store and saying, what is this? And then how do you say it in Spanish? And having that conversation of what you want to buy, and doing a lot of hand motions, I think is something that I think we've all kind of learned if we've traveled to
I'm Italian. I use hand motions all the time. You don't have to tell me. I had to learn how to not talk with my hands so I didn't knock people out.
Yeah, exactly. And some people want to read a little bit and, have that dictionary there and say, I think knowing yourself a little bit helps. But I think there are people who want to bridge those gaps. And one of the things that we talk a lot about right now in generational business, and especially Hispanic owned businesses right now, is that a lot of them now have a second generation coming in to own the business or run the business. And so I think that language gap is going to continue to
kind of dissolve. Yeah, that's a really good point. But maybe there are opportunities also for the business owners to make their businesses more inclusive too, and expand their consumership. Right. Yeah. That's all. It all starts with a willingness, right, to have conversation.
And I want to just a quick shout out to what the work that the chamber's doing, and Steve Wilkinson and the great leadership team there, and Christian, who actually got me here today. And so that conversation is happening, and those are things that we're talking about, is how do you as a business owner really reach your entire market. And so I think that we're headed in the right direction, which is really encouraging and hopeful for what we're going to see come up in the future. Yeah,
I'm encouraged as well. I'm going to let you give the information one more time about La Terraza, the main street. But this has been a wonderful conversation and a start of a relationship, I hope, between What's Up Wenatchee and the Hispanic Business Council, because I would love to have you back and at least, just explore some more of these topics and that we've just started to scratch the surface on today.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So tell us about La Terraza.
Yeah, so La Terraza de Main Street. Again, this is a downtown, 1st Street to 2nd Street. Wenatchee Ave is going to be closed for the day. 12 to 7, we're going to have vendors. There's a tequila garden. There's going to be live music, local dancers and bands that are going to be performing. Again, this is a local family event, so bring your kids. Walk around, listen to some great music, eat some food. Like I said, this is multicultural, so we're going to have more food than just Mexican food. So if you just like food, come down. And this is a small space for businesses. So if you're a small business owner or a small business owner who's trying to get their business started, we want to hear about it, and we may have a space for you. Like I said, we have about 10 spaces left.
And what does La Terraza mean?
So La Terraza,
yeah, what you said.
Yes. So really, it's a vendor fair. So if you've ever traveled and been down to like the market where it's on the street?
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's what that is.
So for you, that word actually conjures up, like for us, like a vendor market or an artisan market or something like that actually conjures up a visual for you in your head. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So cool. Now it does for me too.
It's outdoor fresh air market, right? So what, kind of like a farmer's market, but
awesome.
But with the understanding that there's culture and dancing and music behind that. Yeah.
Beautiful. That totally changed it for me. I love it. Ruben Benacort, you are the chair of the Hispanic Business Council through the Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for braving the wind and the cold out here today.
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll have you again soon.
Yes.
All right. I'm trying to say it right. I promise. You guys have a good day. All right. There you go. It is chilly. It is 2:00 now. We did get started a little bit late on the program today. So I just want to make sure that we get all of the information on all of the things that we wanted to get out there today. So if you are coming down to Classy Chassis, the parade starts at 6 p.m. tonight, followed by dancing in the street. 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. There's a beer garden, food vendors, free family-friendly concert down at Gateway Park. You got the eatery open here. It's open now up until 6 p.m. tonight when the parade starts. Then you have the car show all day tomorrow, starting at 12 till 4, and then the awards are given out at 4 o'clock. I'll be emceeing and DJing all the music and on the mic all day tomorrow right here at the Fourplex. And then the eatery will be open 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. tomorrow. What else do we've got going on? Speaking of the Chamber of Commerce, I did get a chance to present there this past week, and when Grayson gets back here, we'll talk about that a little bit. We were supposed to have Mary Hart from Linesse Boutique on with us today, but her husband had to go in for some emergency surgery on his shoulder last week, so they are having a little bit of because he helps her at the shop, so she had to be at the shop to work there. But another, not a Terraza, but another artisan pop-up market is happening at that parking lot where Linesse Boutique is located at 1630 North Wenatchee Avenue. And if you haven't been there yet, place is pretty darn cool. And they're taking on wholesale vendors like all the time. I see new stuff in there weekly. But they're going to be doing a outdoor vendor market called Artisan Synergy on the 20th of May. And Dooley Dogs are going to be there. Aloha Espresso is going to be there. I wish Aloha Espresso was here right now to give me a coffee. Artisan vendors, booth setups, lots of products, cups, t-shirts, keychains, homemade crocheted items, clay earrings, a lot of small business vendors all setting up shop outside at 1630 North Wenatchee Avenue. Look for Artisan Synergy on Facebook. And then, of course, La Terraza, the Main Street, also taking place that day downtown. And we do have Pybus Public Market having their opening day next Saturday, the 13th, which is going to be a busy day. It's the same day, Grayson, as the Apple Valley Vinyl Expo.
Right.
So you've got the Pybus Public Market in the morning. We've got the Vinyl Expo happening that day. Then actually I have a really busy night, but those are both private parties. So I'm hosting 2 separate karaoke parties that night. So May 13th is a busy day for me, which actually leads very well into just letting people know that we are available for private parties and private karaoke parties and kids parties, for DJing and emceeing and karaoke and quiz games. And what do I do?
You do all kinds of
game
things.
nights. That's what I was trying to
Family
think
game
of.
night, adult game night. Yes.
Yeah.
And those are fun.
Yeah.
I only say that because I've participated.
You
so
have
many
participated
times.
in a couple of game nights. Yeah.
Well, more than a couple.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And if you want to look at all of the things that you can hire us for, book us for, and see the calendar of our available dates, you can go to darlingproductionswa.com.
You got your hand in everything.
Right. It was difficult this past week when I was trying to present at 1 Million Cups at the Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce. It was a really great experience, I have to say that. And I want to just spend a minute or two talking about this, just to let people know a couple of takeaways that I had from this experience. Really, I had 6 minutes. 6 minutes, which you think would be a long time, but for me, that's not a long time, right? I could do 6 minutes in my sleep. And they said, you have 6 minutes to tell us about your business. Like what? 6 minutes to tell you about all of Darling Productions.
I'm so sorry I missed it. I've had a lot going on in myself,
Oh,
and
it's okay.
I really wanted to be there for this. So I'm glad that you're like reiterating it for the audience.
Yeah. So I sat down with my business advisor and I said, there's no way I could talk about all of Darling Productions in 6 minutes. He said, no, you can't. So we focused on the podcast network because that's the one that people have the hardest time understanding. And so I said, well, we do a lot of different things. We do events, we do private parties, we do marketing partnerships, integrated marketing, we do media buying, media consulting. One of the things I'm going to talk to you about today is the podcast network. But you really have to start from teaching people about what is podcasting. Do you know what podcasting is? And then run through the whole thing. And it was really good, but they said it was unlike any other 1 Million Cups presentation that they had. And I did stay within my 6 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah. And then after that, you do 20 minutes of Q&A. And it's supposed to be like people asking questions, like trying to give feedback to help you advance your business.
Right.
Get to the next level, troubleshoot any areas and issues. That is not what happened.
What happened? You gotta tell us.
That's not what happened.
What happened?
It was not people trying to give me feedback on how to make my business better, which is fine. It's questions about how the network works and how it can benefit. Like it was basically, I was given 6 minutes to give a lecture, and then it was a class of students asking questions on that lecture.
Well, podcasting is, it's not new, but it is kind of new for where we live.
Yeah.
And so trying to get a handle on what is it? It's a whole nother can of worms.
Absolutely.
We're not in a large market. We're not in a big city. So it's great because you have built with your own hands, your own blood, your own sweat, your own tears, and your own financial resources.
There was a lot of blood and a lot of sweat and a lot of tears.
This podcast network, which you have other podcasts on this network.
And more in development and more that are ready to be developed that need sponsors. Yeah. So
and that's amazing.
So this is the takeaway. I have 2 takeaways that I want to share with the audience today and share with you that I feel came from the conversation. 1, people want to know, how can podcasting benefit my business, organization, or nonprofit, or me personally, right? Whether if you're an influencer or trying to be an influencer or trying to get the word out there, how can podcasting help me? And this is what I tell them. There are 3 ways. So, take notes. This is take notes. The first way that podcasting can benefit you, your organization, your business, your nonprofit is to produce a podcast, right? You can do that. Because 1, it will communicate with an audience, an already engaged audience, or you can build an engaged audience. It will help reinforce your message, reinforce your brand, and it will help you to have content for your web, for your social media, for whatever your marketing purposes, marketing promotions services are, right? So that is one type of commitment, producing and putting out content, podcast content. The second way podcasting can benefit your business, organization, or nonprofit, or you personally, if you're like April and want to be a major influencer, is you can advertise on a podcast. Because just like radio or newspaper or any other type of media, podcasting has an audience, right? An already engaged audience that has a certain type of, we call it demographic. So What's Up Wenatchee obviously has a demographic of people who live in Wenatchee, primarily, right? So a car podcast is going to appeal to a certain type of people. A agricultural podcast is going to appeal to a certain type of people. So find a podcast on the network that appeals to the same type of people that your business or organization is trying to reach, and then advertise on it and put your message on it. And it actually is much more effective because it's a local audience, is a locally engaged audience, and it's hyper-focused. So it's actually much more effective than radio or television or newspaper. Third way that podcasting can be effective and beneficial to your business, your organization, or your nonprofit is to be a presenting sponsor, which is different than advertising, because advertising is advertising. People all know what advertising is, but being a presenting sponsor for a podcast is completely different. It's not completely different, but it's different. That is, you don't actually put an advertising message onto a podcast, but you help somebody who already has a podcast idea, right? Joe, Blue Skies food truck, wants to do a podcast about food and locally grown food, and he wants to cook the locally grown food and do it in front of an audience as a podcast. Great. Fits into the cross-section of our community so well, right? Local chef owns a local food truck, wants to do a local podcast. He needs a presenting sponsor to pay for the production and distribution of that podcast. So we've got to find a presenting sponsor for him. And then that person gets to actually work with Joe, have a relationship with Joe, help with the development of the podcast, and then get recognized, or maybe do a segment with Joe on his podcast. You're actually part of the process because you're a presenting sponsor. So you're not actually doing all of the work to put the podcast out there, because people don't want that much responsibility, but you get to be a part of the process, and you get to help local content get out there onto the airwaves. Beautiful, right? Right. So that was one takeaway. There are 3 benefits to podcasting for you, for your business, for your organization, or for your nonprofit. There's a second takeaway. I told you there were 2. Thoughts on the first one?
I really like the way that you presented it, because for me, it was very informational. I learned something that I wasn't really well aware of. And I've done a lot of research on like producing a podcast and what it all entails and what it all looks like. when it's actually said, because there's 3 different learning styles, it puts it in a completely different mindset than what I initially had it as. So hearing that information about everything you've just said it's for me personally is an eye-opener, and I hope for some of our listeners, some of our viewers, that it was also a helpful eye-opener, because again, podcasting in this area still relatively brand new thing.
Yeah.
And and this particular podcast is so important and crucial because there isn't anything like it here in the Valley.
It's true.
And so I'm here, and I'm just volunteering my time, but I enjoy getting to be a part of it and helping you out with it, because a lot of the things that I do to help you put on this show is producing the podcast.
Right. Yeah.
It's getting out there and shaking hands and meeting people and help setting up, getting people like Ruben on the show, and some other people that we've worked with, Oscar, and meeting and greeting them, getting them set up and getting them ready, and working with you behind the scenes before we even go on air, right? And making sure that we have the content that we want. It's me reaching out to businesses. It's me reaching out, and me not necessarily being the face of your company, because it is your baby, it is your company, but it's me representing you.
Absolutely.
And representing your brand, right? So there's this professionalism that has to go into it, as well as your attitude, your mindset, and how you articulate what this business is and what it does, right? So I've learned a lot. I mean, I haven't been with the podcast that long, but it just has evolved into like a really great experience. I'm
glad you feel that way.
I really enjoy hearing about that, because for me it encourages me personally to want to be more involved and to figure out how I can make that come to light, right?
Yeah.
But that takes time, it takes experience, and that's what I'm gaining in just helping you out right now, right? It's kind of like you putting together your street teams, and and helping you do that. It's something that I've been involved in a completely different way, in a completely different style, in a completely different setting. I'm bringing those skills to this arena, right? So it's not as foreign as I think it is.
Right. Yeah.
So when you explained what you just explained to me, or what you just explained to the audience, it makes me feel really good about it. And I hope that it makes the viewers feel really good about it.
I hope it does too, because I hope the word gets out there, because it gets more people involved in the network. And I want as many people to be involved as possible. So there's one other takeaway, and for the podcast network, and so this is what's happening right now. I'm going to tell everybody what's happening. So I'm going to put this back up so you could see. We are literally right at the entrance gate at the fourplex, and it is just about time for cars to start registering for the parade. And we've got this tent. We're underneath a tent that says the city of East Wenatchee. So we look very official, and we look like a registration table. We're not a registration table. The registration table is like down the street. So we keep getting interrupted by people who want to come and register their cars with the podcast. But no, they can't do that. So I don't want Grayson to miss my second takeaway. So while he's doing that and trying to give some information, the other presenter, because they have 2 presenters for 1 Million Cups, I'll actually give her a little bit of a shout out, was the owner of Sweat Equity Cycle Studio. And I think that's pretty cool that is something that's in our town. I used to do cycle classes. You get on the bike and you have a whole lot of fun. riding up big mountains and not going anywhere all the time when I was living in Philadelphia. And I really like taking cycle classes. And here she like turns the lights down real low and the music up real high, and you take these cool spin classes. She was the other person that presented, and I think she did a really great job and got some good feedback. It made me want to go check out her cycle studio. Did Old Man Blue get directions to where he needed to go?
Absolutely. That's been kind of my job.
I know. Today. I explained it while you were away.
I've been helping out because the mayor let us borrow this beautiful pop-up tent, but I said we look very official. Yes. Yeah. So no, it's been good because at least I got the right information of everything from Mayor.
I don't look very official. I look like the Yeti, the Black Yeti.
Well, you're wearing your brand colors.
I don't care. I really don't. I run so cold. So we're talking about 1 million cups. It was last Wednesday at the Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce. It happens every month. It's an hour long where entrepreneurs get to present. I was one of the presenters. The other one was the lady from Sweat Equity, who I was just talking about.
Yep,
the spin classes. Yeah. So I had 2 takeaways. We went over the first takeaway of that, the benefits, the 3 different benefits to actually podcasting for your business, organization, or nonprofit, or you personally.
Which was very insightful. What's the second?
The second takeaway was somebody asked me a question. They said, well, what kind of podcasts do you think are missing on your network that you are hoping to bring in?
That's a really good question.
It's a really good question, isn't it?
It really is. And there's a lot of content out there that definitely could be potential for a podcast.
Yes.
I've actually given this one a lot of thought myself.
I think about podcast ideas hourly. I could start 24 new podcasts a day. That's how many podcast ideas I come up with. But they all are not good podcast ideas, and they all would not work. They wouldn't go through the gauntlet of what I have in my brain. I have them kind of a algorithm that I put ideas through. Do they pass this test? Do they pass that test? Do they pass? Do we have a host? Do we have a this? Can we get a this? Are they promotable? Like all these things that. As a business owner of a podcast network, I have to put these things through because they all have to be worth your time and your money. But
also you want to listen to them.
Well, yes, I never actually put that by because I go, if I'm going to produce it, it's going to be entertaining anyway. But no, but you're right. Is it something that people will engage with? Is one of the questions, and these are all through the filter of local.
Right.
So if it's a food podcast or a health and wellness podcast, like how are we going to make that local? How are we going to talk to local health and wellness people? Or how are we going to scope this where it's going to be applicable for our local community? Or is it just because it's a local host or locally produced? Like what gives it that local spin? Because it's a local podcast network. We're not trying to be the biggest global podcast network out there. We are a niche local podcast network, right? That's what it's meant to be. So my answer when they asked what kinds of podcasts are missing from the network, what would you like to see be on the network? And my answer was not a non-answer, but I said, there are podcasts out there that I can't even think of. I don't pretend to be the end all be all creative entity for podcasting in the Wenatchee Valley or North Central Washington. I think there are plenty of people out there who are already producing podcasts that I would like to bring into the network and help them to promote themselves and get bigger, more listeners, or help them get sponsors or advertisers. There are, I want to get organizations to be able to spread their message. But most of all, I really just want it to be a purposeful cross-section of our community. And I don't want anybody to feel like they are excluded. I want it to be inclusive and represent everybody. And I want it to be a true forum for the First Amendment. Because, you know, some people are already off put by some of the content that are on there, and they go, well, you shouldn't have that somewhere, you know, like you shouldn't have that on your podcast network. I'm like, why? It's not my beliefs. It's the beliefs, and it's actually a well-educated, well-researched belief of this particular person who lives in our community. And if you don't believe it, then go start a podcast of what you do believe.
Or don't listen.
Yeah. You know, that for me is First Amendment.
Yes.
Freedom of speech.
Exactly.
This is not, and I've told you this is not the Nikki Podcast Network. I know it's the Darling Podcast Network, but it's not like the Nikki Podcast Network of these are all the shows that I like, or this is all the topics that I want to talk about. This is for our community.
Right. And that's the whole reason that you started it.
I want there to be a podcast on the network that I can't even listen to because it's in a different language that I don't understand.
Which would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
And
I didn't even say Spanish. I just said another language because there are other languages within our community that are not Spanish that are spoken. We have a really
big Russian community here in the Valley. I mean, we have communities of other... We're multicultural.
Right.
Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
But we have Indian people, we have Thai people, we have people from other cultures. And it's amazing to get to see that. And I would love to see these different communities come together and do a podcast.
Sometimes my geeky friends talk about video gaming and I don't understand that language at all. They talk for about like 10 minutes and I'm like, I didn't understand the last 10 minutes of your conversation. So that could be a different but that would be a great podcast.
It would be a great podcast. And there are podcasts like that out there and they use Twitch as a platform and they talk about games or how games don't work or how they're complicated or why they're popular. I'd love to be able to have that kind of a podcast here locally just because we do have these groups of people. And you know a lot more of them than I do.
I know.
And so that'd be fantastic. I'd love to see we had the guy that's doing the vinyl expo.
And
it'd be great if he had a podcast because he likes to talk about local bands. He likes to talk about vinyl. And there is a complete platform there for him.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many people that are into a lot of the local bands. You know, you go to Wally's to see him, you go to Leavenworth to see him, but they are here.
Yeah.
And to have a podcast about that just puts the word out even further than the promotion they already use, right? So when you talk about these aren't all your ideas, you're right. And people need to know that. It isn't Nikki Darling. It's just the company that you've created so that people can join it and be a part of it and put content out there it's still local. You know, it's not like we're going to be having podcasts about Seattle, right? It's about what's going on here. So when you say agricultural, that's really important.
Right.
When you say you want to bring in small businesses or small grouped businesses where it's a cultural thing or where it's just about particular different types of marketing for small business. There is a podcast platform for this.
Right.
And so what I would like the viewers to take away from this conversation is just that if this is something that you would be interested in doing, reach out. You know, because where there is a will, there is a way. And if it is something that you feel passionate about, like let's just say you want to talk about I'm going to throw one out. Let's just say you want to talk about crime and what's going on in the community in terms of that. That would be I would listen to that.
Yeah.
But that would be a great podcast. And if you're passionate about something,
oh my gosh, I know. I'm going to talk to Ron Evans because he listens to the police scanner religiously. Maybe he'll do a podcast about his reactions to the police, or maybe it'll be a segment on a podcast.
Yeah, it'd be even amazing if we had a podcast where the police department had their own podcast where they could have a Q&A with the community.
Right.
This is a platform that and we've talked about this. I have talked your ear off about this. Radio is shifted in such a way We've had some amazing people like Howard Stern shift radio in such a way that it went to podcast and it went big. And it started with him having a radio show and then him doing that show and having a contract with E and doing it as a live stream radio show. And for me, that's kind of like,
because his show is always a talk show.
Exactly.
That's why.
But then you started getting people saying, hey, I could put out a content like this, or hey, I could do this, or hey, you know, I've been on TV as an anchor in a small market, and I would really love to talk about this specific thing. And then before you knew it, podcasts were popping up everywhere. And they weren't all they're not all live streamed.
I know. And then
they're
look what they're
audio.
And then look what they're doing, and at the same time to radio. You don't see people like Howard Stern really, unless they are Howard Stern or Elvis Duran anymore on radio. The rest of them on radio, even in this town, they're not talk shows. They are cutting their talk time. Cutting it, cut. Less talk. How do you connect? How do you do what you can't do what Howard Stern does in the time that they're allotting people to talk on radio. It's just it's not possible anymore. So
yeah, I'm not trying to talk bad about radio.
Nor am I. It's just not
it's just shifted so much that it shifted the content, it shifted what we listen to.
It's not the forum for personal connection anymore. That's not where you do that.
Exactly.
It's information medium. Absolutely. Education. Yes. You can absolutely educate the masses through radio. Absolutely. They say radio drives search. You hear something on radio, you go to the internet, you search about it, you get more information. It is educational 100%. It is not the medium, unless you're NPR or some kind of public entity where you are making connections.
Oh, exactly.
You need breathing room. You need talk time. You need a forum to be able to have natural conversations, to be able to connect, and podcasting is that medium.
Exactly. And basically it's an evolvement of radio. Now, you know more about radio than I do. I know a little bit about it because my dad likes to do pirate radio. My dad used to be an on-air personality long before I was, and he still does stuff, but long before I came around, right?
Uh-huh.
And so like he said, so what do you think people did before there was TV?
They listened to the radio and they would sit around their
content that happened on those stations.
Radio dramas.
There was radio dramas. You had like President Roosevelt coming on and talking about the state of the United States.
Oh yeah.
You had a lot of things that were people literally would sit and gather and listen
at the kitchen
to
table,
the radio.
and they would look at the radio.
Yeah,
that's what they, like it was a TV set.
Exactly. So basically, since radio has shifted in this one direction now you have podcasting, and podcasting is basically that forefront that happened when radio first went out on the air.
That's such a great point.
Yeah, and so it's just this is why you see me getting excited right now, because it's and like I've talked your ear off, it's not as much of a new frontier because it was already there, as it is a new way
resurgence
to bring
of the old
conversation back to the table, and to make things relevant like they used to be. And so I get excited about
I think it's a return of humanity.
Yeah,
honestly.
And I feel like it's really important. It's really important because we're human beings to have connections. It's really important, especially not post-COVID, to have these connections, because we're social creatures. Whether we're extroverted or we're introverted, we're still social creatures, and we still crave to have connections. And podcasting is some of that platform that I believe is bringing us back together. It's bringing conversations out there. It's creating things where people are creating documentaries around it. And so it's exciting it's really exciting to see. So when
Somebody
you
please
told
make
me,
a documentary about my life.
when you told me about I might say this wrong, Bear on Air.
Yeah, fair.
And this was several years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh man, I don't know, man. This is a niche, and this is such a small community. I listened. I didn't tune in all the time, but I tuned in, and I was getting the sense that
most people have no idea what you're talking about. Bear and Air was such a small project.
It was, but it was like this infancy of what you've got now.
Yeah.
It's literally that driving force and what you were doing as an on-air personality together and combined that created this network, created this brand. And here we are, you're 3 years into What's Up Wenatchee, and now you're live streaming What's Up Wenatchee, and it's exciting.
Yeah,
it's exciting. So I want the viewers to get excited, not just about What's Up Wenatchee, but with the potential of podcasts and being your own influencer and creating and producing your own podcast really, really is saying. It says a lot.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about this and you see me across from you getting excited, viewers are seeing me get excited about what you're saying. It's not just talk, and this isn't boring. This is super, super exciting stuff. And I say, if you're out there and you're listening, whether it's live today or it's tomorrow or next week or whenever, and you have an idea and you think, man, I'd really, really love to do something.
Everybody has an idea. Everybody's like, oh, I've thought about doing a podcast.
Yeah, even if you don't want to be the one doing the podcast, but you've got a great idea that you think that people would want to hear, reach out.
Yeah.
Reach out to Darling Productions.
It's honestly, it is really easy because I am incredibly easy to get a hold of. I actually make it way too easy to get a hold of me because I monitor all my Facebook and Instagram and TikToks. Like, I'm the one that monitors everything because I'm a control freak. So if you do message any of those accounts, it will come right to me. So honestly, if you do have a show segment or an interview, it will come like straight to me. It does, and that's no lie, because that's the point. Like, the point is that we are returning back to being community connectors, right?
Exactly.
So that you should be able to get a hold of me extremely easily.
I always find that it's pretty easy because you're always somewhere.
Right.
You were always out somewhere.
That's true. I know.
That's why I say you're a woman of many hats. And you're like, well, I don't really see that. But you really are. You're a woman of many hats, and you own many hats. And it's like you carry around a different hat invisibly, and you're like, okay, I'm at the Chamber of Commerce today. And now I'm going to go over to this event. Oh, and I'm still a mom. How's it going, Trenton?
Oh, my God. Okay. So before we leave, because we should probably wrap this up, but before we leave, the one thing I haven't talked about, a few weeks ago, when we were future planning for the show, and I was like, we're heading into Apple Blossom. What did I say? I said, I don't really think we're doing anything for Apple Blossom.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna have to wait till next year. They already have everything done. They plan it like literally after Apple Blossom ends. So
I should have bit my tongue, honestly.
And maybe next year we'll get, because I was asking, I was like, what about if we interview one of the gals that becomes a princess,
right? The princess or the queen,
and you were like, they got that all set up. But here's what happened. Where are we right now?
I know.
We are live.
First of all, we interviewed the star of the Shrek musical,
yes,
the Apple Blossom musical. So we talked with Vern Smith. We talked with Alex Haley from the Apple Blossom Beer Garden.
Where you also had a karaoke show.
We did a karaoke night there this past Wednesday, which is what I wanted to talk to you about and give these guys a recap of. We talked with Trina about Classy Chassis. Now we are here for Classy Chassis. I am emceeing the car show on Saturday and DJing all the music for the car show on Saturday. There was something else
that you were involved with.
I feel like we interviewed somebody else that had to do with
so many.
I know we did a lot of interviews for Apple Blossom. So yeah, we could go down the line and which we have, and you could go back and rewatch all those interviews and everything. But I have a lot of videos and pictures from this past Wednesday night. It was supposed to be on Monday, but the weather was not great, and we wouldn't have been able to start until like 9:00 at night. So Alex was just like, why don't we do it Wednesday? It's the opening night of Shrek. The cast will come over after the show's done. I was like, well, what time does the show done? And he's like, I think like 9. And I was like, okay, well, I'll come out and be there for like 7:30, 8:00. So I can start when the stage entertainment ends. And he's like, okay, yeah, that should be like 7:30, 8:00. I was like, fine. So I get there. He's like, oh, the stage entertainment's and I was like, what does that mean? What is that? He's like, well, they think that they're going to go till like 8:30, 8:45. So they kept pushing back the time that the stage entertainment was going to go, because they forgot that I was going to be in the beer garden doing karaoke, and they wanted people to stay later because of the Shrek show. And so they kept pushing it back. So we didn't get karaoke started until like 8:45.
Yeah, and I didn't even know about it.
And you didn't even know about it.
And I won't even live that far away. Like, literally could have just walked there.
Well, it was online, and I promoted it, and we had a crazy wild time in the Apple Blossom Beer Garden. It was,
oh yeah, I saw some video content.
Yeah, we had like a big group, and then it kind of thinned out, and then Shrek didn't get out until 10:15, which means the cast and the crew didn't come over till about 10:45.
Oh, I saw Vern singing, yeah.
And then they were there for a good couple of hours. So we karaoke till almost 1 a.m.
I missed it. I never really miss karaoke, but I have not been online. I have been not online. I have not really checked social media like at all. I've been dealing with my own personal stuff that I've got going. I got a lot going on that I'm trying to juggle, so I kind of I had to drop something. Right,
yeah, well, that's fine
to get focused.
It was a lot of fun. Woody, the executive director of the pack, came out, and he's just like looked at me. He goes, "I am not singing,"
but he did.
And we passed around the tip jar while he was singing. We got a lot of money donated for the Apple Blossom Festival.
So awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome. Yeah, it's something I wish that I wouldn't have missed out on, but it's kind of like Pierogi that shut down a little early, and I didn't get my Pierogi.
Well, honestly, at the end of it, Alex says this was awesome, and we're going to make it a yearly tradition.
Well, high five. I know that no one can see it, but we're doing it.
We're doing it. They can see it. We're on camera.
Oh, okay.
We're still going. And so let's tell people what's coming up.
Yes.
Next week, we confirmed the Two Rivers Medieval Fair are actually coming on to do an interview, or?
I think we're still bridging the gap.
Okay.
We're
working on having the guys and gals from the Medieval Renaissance Fair come out and talk with us. I think that I feel pretty good about that.
I feel we'll have one representative of that because it's a very busy time for them. They're putting it together. So there's a lot of building going on. And when you're working with a group of people who are extremely introverted, it makes it a little more challenging to do something like this, especially for them. It kind of feels last minute.
Okay.
Even though we've been in contact for several weeks, but the board did bring us someone, so I'm really hopeful that we'll have Carl on.
Okay. Well, we'll try and find out what we have to do to make it a more comfortable, safe space for them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been in complete dialogue and on your behalf, just saying, okay,
sure.
Well, maybe next year we'll just do it on site.
Yeah.
And then we'll get it more covered and covered
we'll have
the way you would love to have it.
A very strong mobile hotspot by then.
I hope to have a Renaissance Fair outfit.
Oh yeah. That'd be cool.
Now that I've kind of got immersed in all these conversations about it, I'm excited.
I will give you one guess who has a jester outfit from when they were a jester back in high school still in his closet.
I'm gonna go with Ryan.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Ryan. That's a strong yes.
Who puts it on every now and then when he's in the mood?
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Not
he's
in that
proud
kind of
of
mood,
it.
just in a jester mood.
I get it. I get it. But that you have to get his personality to know that he's got a lot of sides to him, but he's got a really funny, silly side too.
Yeah, he does. I think that's a huge part of his personality. So we're gonna work on the Renaissance Fair, talking with them next week. Also working on Jessica Mayo, who handles the farmers market, Wenatchee Valley Farmers Market, because next weekend is their first weekend. So would like to talk to her about what we could expect for this season over at the farmers market. So that's next week. In a few weeks, I think in a couple of weeks, we are going to have the actual mayor of Wenatchee, current sitting mayor, Frank Koontz, come on and talk about the Confluence Parkway. So look out for that, and we'll give you the exact date when he's going to be on. And then I think I'm debating. I think we're going to take the Friday of Memorial Day weekend off.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm in shock, everyone. I'm shocked.
Yeah, well, we have to do some work-life balance stuff, and we would like to go camping. And if we get the chance to go out of town and go camping and take Trenton on his first camping trip, I think we're going to take it. And that would mean leaving Thursday night. So I would need to take Friday off and whatever.
I'm okay.
I think a lot of people would be heading out of town that week. So a Friday, What's Up Wenatchee missing might not be too much on a holiday weekend.
Oh, yeah. Well, if the 4th of July was on a Friday, would we still have a podcast?
Probably.
I don't know.
Because that's a local event, and we would probably be promoting the 4th of July.
That's fair.
Because I'm the MC of the 4th of July. So.
Well, there we go right there. I was just throwing it out as it's also a holiday. People go out of town.
I know.
So that backfired on me.
It did kind of a little bit. But Labor Day is always on a Monday. That didn't work either. That backfired on me. All right.
Hey, it works.
Fair enough.
Taking Memorial Day weekend off for that Friday podcast, I think, is beneficial. I really think that the work-life juggle that you've got going on.
And you know what? It's my gosh darn business, and I could do whatever I want.
Yeah, but you also need a break. I'm going to put that out there. A lot of you guys don't know how busy this woman is. Like, she's not out there just hustling. She's just got her fingers in so much right now that, like, sometimes it takes a while for her to even get back to me, and I'll just be like, twiddling my thumbs.
Oh,
like,
dude, I know. I love it, though. I love what I do.
You're busy, so you deserve it.
I just put on the screen WenatcheeValley.com. That is the website to go check out Mike Poirier. He is running for mayor. Mike Poirier for mayor. He is our future mayor of Wenatchee, and all of the stuff on there, if you want to donate to the cause, to his campaign, or write an endorsement, you can check that out. And then we're going to get that interview that I did with him up on YouTube a little bit later on this afternoon, or this evening now, because it's already later in the afternoon. But we'll have that up so you can go back and check it. It was a really awesome, really in-depth, and just really genuine interview with Mike Poirier. And so there's his WenatcheeValley.com website. And if you'd like to be a supporter of this podcast, which is a fully community supported podcast, the website there is WUW for What's Up Wenatchee .supercast.com, and we have different levels of subscription to be part of our community, and we do special exclusive content, and we do ticket giveaways and different things like that over the course of time to just say thank you for being a supporter. So you can go to that as well. And that's going to do it for us for today. We appreciate you hanging around with all of our technical issues. This last part has actually gone pretty smoothly, so I'm happy about that.
Good.
Whew. Gosh, we did it. We did it.
Yes.
If I was trying, we would go, I did it.
Yeah.
I did it. That's what he says, right? I did it. So we did it.
We are, and we'll figure out the whole on location thing. You know, like this is just the first time that we've done it like this. So
I hope everybody knows, which I didn't tell you. I actually went to the AT&T store, and I went to go buy the mobile hotspot device, and they sent me on a wild goose chase. Okay, and I have been on this all week to make this happen. So it really has not been for a lack of trying. So I actually am pretty happy that we've got this going as much as we possibly have. So
were you able to use the hotspot, or did you need to borrow mine? I mean, I don't know which one that you're on.
I'm on yours right now. We are on your hotspot. So
I'm just glad that we were able to put this podcast on.
Yeah.
There was a lot of doubt on your end, but we made it happen.
Right.
Look at what we've done. Yay!
And so a regular hotspot is on the way. And we do have a wish list that is floating around on like Instagram that has some updated cameras and some other updated switcher equipment that if you ever think about that you want to help support in another way and not just being a subscriber, or you want to actually buy some equipment that you know that we're going to need and you want to know that that's where the money is going and you don't want to just give us money to just not know where it's going. Some, people are like that. You can actually see that wish list, buy the equipment, and it will be sent right to us. So you know that you bought that equipment and we can thank you for it properly, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, see a need, fill a need.
Yeah.
I think that's how I've been when I'm like, oh, I wish that we had this. So then I'm like, I have to go find that so that we have it. Because I mean, that's how I contribute. I mean, I'm not just doing the, hey, let me help you. It's like, how can I help you make this podcast better? How can I help you get this going in like the best direction possible? Because that
holds me up to a high standard, right? Like that holds my feet to the fire and keeps my integrity intact, because if people are investing their time, their money, especially their money, into what I'm doing, that makes me want to make it the best that I can every single week, get the best, do the interviews, do the research, talk to the people, have the best conversations, be the best that I can do, because I have people that I know that are invested, and I don't take that lightly. So
I know. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I just want to make sure that viewers know that as much as you see what you see, I also put a lot in. And
yes, you
and
do.
I'm not getting paid to do any of this. So it is my own money that I invest into this podcast, because I believe in it, and I believe in the content, and I believe in the network of relationships that are being built, because I get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I may get to see it in a different way than the viewers do, but I do get to see it, and so it is really important. So I am definitely going to repost that wish list, because I know it got lost in the shuffle. But I do want to say to anyone that doesn't want to be a subscriber, yes, if you see something on there and you know that it would be helpful, that would be great.
Yeah,
it would be wonderful, because I know that we've got what we've got, and we keep improving the best that we can. And I'm sure a lot of people would like to see it maybe a little bit better. We're getting there. And it's a slowly but surely thing. We're getting there. I mean, Nikki finally got a really good mic, which was really, really important. We're working on a camera that I've been taking the time to make sure we have components for, and we can get it working on something that Nikki and I will hash out, so we have a better camera and an extra camera at that.
Right.
So we're slowly integrating as much as we can with the time that God gives us, because we're busy people. So yeah,
trying to keep work-life balance too.
See a need, fill a need, and I'll make sure to get that wish list out from under where it's been and repost it back up at the top.
I appreciate you so much. All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. We'll see you hopefully somewhere over the weekend, whether it's tonight at the Classy Chassis Parade or over at the Gisa Credit Union Entertainment Stage over at Apple Blossom at the food fair, the vendor fair, or tomorrow here at the car show, Classy Chassis Car Show at the Fourplex. or you got the grand parade and all of the festivities over at Apple Blossom. A lot of things happening this weekend. So
guaranteed to run into us though.
I know. We'll be around for sure. I want to thank all my guests on the program today. We had Ruben from the Hispanic Business Council, Ruben Benacort, and the Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce, and Mike Poirier, our future mayor of Wenatchee, for coming on and speaking with me today, and everybody who helped put this particular podcast on. Of course, Trina Elms and Dell. I don't know Dell's last name, and even Jerry Lee Crawford, our mayor of East Wenatchee, helped us a little bit get this podcast running today. Brandon and Lee from Wenatchee Computer ran out here and had to give us some IT help, so we've had a lot of really good support today.
Absolutely.
We're going to be back with another episode next week. Join the community at www.supercast.com for exclusive content and past episodes. You can go to our YouTube page. I want to thank everybody for watching and being a part of the show today. We really do appreciate you. And we want to say happy Apple Blossom.
Happy Apple Blossom.
Bye,
and
everybody.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
And may the 4th be with you.
Yes, Revenge of the 5th. Peace out, everybody.